So I made a video discussing my want to see the Tomb Raider Legend Trilogy to be remastered and put into a collection set. I found that it might likely happen with the recent run of remasters out and coming out for a lot of those older Tomb Raider games. One would think that eventually they would want to bring back the Legend games in some way. Now sure, we do have Tomb Raider Legend back on the PSN, and yes, I think you can buy the 360 version on the Xbox, and the PC has all three of the games. But a simple remastered trilogy would be a great way to have it all in one package, along with it possibly being on the Switch for the first time, and then including the DLC items that were only on the console versions of Underworld. So there is plenty of reasons to make this collection set. I saw some rumored details floating around on Twitter that there seems to be a listing that is now being taken down that cites that the Legend Trilogy is actually coming back, probably in the remastered capacity. The list is a Tomb Raider collection for the Switch, including all three games, Legend, Anniversary, and then Underworld. It also mentions enhanced graphics and controls, so I know that this isn't an official announcement, and honestly this could have been a mistake listing altogether. But part of me thinks that while a remaster of the Legend games are not coming soon, but this also leads me to believe that we might be seeing this later on, maybe in mid to late 2025. That second remastered Lara collection is coming early 2025. We do not have a new Tomb Raider game that is apparently coming out right now too. Another thing to factor in is the original Trilogy remastered set was received very well by the player base when it came out. One would think that if the player base comes out and buys the second remastered set, then if I was the publisher, I would say, well, the fans really want to play a lot of these older Tomb Raider games. Why not make another collection set for them? The Legends games would need a lot less work in terms of the controls because they still play great today. The options to have an updated set of visuals would be really nice, along with having the option to switch between the original and new graphics. These games are very much an underdog set of games for the series. It's a trilogy that often gets forgotten. Usually when Tomb Raider is discussed, the Survivor trilogy is discussed, or the classic games are brought up. I am biased, I love Legend. It's an excellent game, so I would totally jump at a remastered set including it. I miss single-player linear action-adventure games. They just don't make stuff like this anymore. Everything wants to be big, sometimes too big, and then get caught up in agenda over entertainment. Legend brings us back to a better time. So yes, any excuse to play this game or any of the other ones is just a great reason to have another remastered collection set. There's probably plenty of players that have not even played these games. All of this stuff also gives some good information to whoever's gonna make the next Tomb Raider game, because if gamers are resonating a lot with the older games, that might be the feedback that they need on how to properly make a new and better game. For example, if people are loving how a lot of the older games are designed, this is how developers could try and implement that into a new game, especially if they are looking to make something to really cater to those fans. Then again, we are talking about a legacy IP here, so that probably means that the new Tomb Raider game will probably just crap on the entire legacy and prior games, and even including the Survivor games as well. Why do they always do this? Because many of the modern devs just don't really care about the IPs that they are given the keys to. Instead of trying to find ways to please that fan base, they just want to go in there and do their own thing. If that ends up being the case with a new Tomb Raider game, then why not just make a new IP over potentially ruining Tomb Raider? I have presented my bias with the Legend Trilogy, and specifically just my love of that first game within it. For me, that was my very first Tomb Raider game that I beat, so the remaster of the whole set is really a promising one, something that I personally would really love to see, especially if it's provided the same love and care that the recent Tomb Raider Classic Collection got with that remaster. If the Tomb Raider Legend Trilogy can secure that level of care and talent, then I know for sure that we are in good hands. Will the Legend games need much work to sort of allow new people to have new control options if they so choose? Like I said before, I honestly don't think so. I think they have aged incredibly well. And to that point, I would say that while playing through Legend a few times this year, I am reminded at how good we used to have it. How much fun having a single-player linear game was. Legend is more of a short and sweet experience. You get in and get out in a quick amount of time. It's brisk for sure, but every moment, level, action, and event is usually a good to great one. We look at many big games within the AAA space now, and there's way too much bloat there. Everyone wants to provide all of the gameplay, when the exact thing that some of us just really need is something that's really good, and maybe something that's just really good for around 6 hours. I am one of those people. If the game is good and I really connect with it, I'll play it again and again, even if it doesn't have a lot of room for variation when it comes to those gameplay moments. I look forward to making the same jump on a certain level the 5th time. I love going through it the first go around, and I feel the same way going through it the 5th time. The gameplay beat where I'm in a shootout and there's plenty of explosives to fire off. I get the same feeling that I had the first go around too. Now sure, this is where I have some of my bias on display. I love this game, but I am sure that there are fans out there that feel the same way. Others that maybe this was their first Tomb Raider game as well. Maybe it was their introduction to the character. Maybe like me, they love the voice actress selected for that trilogy. I look at the modern landscape of games, and I see another hole left by the AAA market. We used to have these enjoyable linear action-adventure games, our Tomb Raiders, our Uncharted's, and while for something like Uncharted, which I hold dear as well, outside of a spin-off, I don't really want them to make any new stories with Nate. But for Lara, I think we have a lot of room to really have some more adventures there. She ended that Survivor trilogy, and we haven't really seen anything new for the brand new Tomb Raider game that's apparently being worked on. People seem to be interested in putting some more stuff related to her out, but not really for a new game right now. I think for the industry and Lara as well, we could really benefit from looking back and making something for that now today. Now I don't want a remake of Lara, but rather a continuation. I think some fans might agree with me here. Pull from the elements from the classic games and maybe even the Legend trilogy as inspiration. It's time for another globe-trotting adventure. This is partially why I wanted to take some time to discuss this in this video to really key in on this stuff. The listing gave me an excuse to talk about Tomb Raider again, and specifically a set of games that I think deserve more attention. Something I have really enjoyed seeing is that whenever I make a video on these titles, I encounter more fans who feel the same way I do. This has been another big plus since the last video, are all of those interactions and reading those comments. Last thing I want to touch on here within this section. Like I said in the prior video, if we get this collection set, I would love to see the same treatment given here as it was to those classic games. What I mean by this is I would love to have those improved visuals. I love the original look of these games. I mean, even the water effects with how Lara can look wet after swimming is still impressive, and honestly really impressive in Underworld especially. But I will admit, I would really like the option of being able to switch between both how the game originally looked when it came out and a new set of visuals. It lets you have the best of both worlds. If we get a set, I really want this feature. I hope that when we get a new Tomb Raider game and when it eventually comes out, it's a good and fun game, one that really honors Lara and her legacy. And if we happen to see a Tomb Raider Legend Trilogy remastered, that would be awesome. And until we see anything more official, we're just gonna have to wait and see with all of this stuff. What are your thoughts on all of this? Do you think that they are working on a remastered Legends set? How do they make a good new Tomb Raider game? How do they get it right? Let me know all of this in the comments down below. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you can help to keep this channel going strong, and this allows me to be able to do more for my awesome audience. Please check out the links in the description and pinned comment for ways to support the channel. And most of all, thank you very much for watching.